Studio, we are now joined by ZNBC Chief Risk Officer Mutesunge Zulu to delve into the Minister's statement to Parliament. Mr. Zulu, good evening and welcome.
Good evening, thank you.
Great. Huge savings as announced by the Minister of Finance. What does this really mean for an economy such as Zambia?
Okay, thank you for that question. So I think what stands out for me is three things. Savings means that there will be monies freed up to go into sectors of the economy that previously were starved. So you're looking at social sectors, you're looking at education, you're looking at healthcare, infrastructure as well at the same time. So you are looking at a government that was hamstrung by debt, and getting that relief is merely reallocation of resources that will look at those other sectors. Savings as well means lesser dependence on the domestic money markets for borrowing that's by the government, and that should eventually translate into lowering of interest rates. And additionally, it would be lesser pressure on the foreign currency markets. That then speaks to stability in the exchange rate, and eventually that would translate into growth.
Given that, of course, now there's this extended payment period, from your standpoint, what are some of the key sectors that the government of Zambia should target? Okay,
like I've mentioned, so the government will obviously look at infrastructure. That's number one. So infrastructure is very key for any economy. I mean, you're going to look at roads, bridges, and education sector. For example, you need your schools, you need universities. Healthcare is actually very important. The COVID-19 pandemic did reveal that the value of life is second to none. So you expect your healthcare as well, and then you also expect some of those other projects where the government will work in partnership with the private sector as well. I think the plus here is that those sectors that the government was not able to fund adequately, it could even mean higher CDF allocations, because then the government would then have more in their purse to effect and stimulate growth and activity. So I think CDF would be a very good example of that. So you expect greater allocation, and with this decentralization of spend, then you expect that growth is then being effected at district levels.
And obviously this also entails a lot of fiscal discipline on the part of government on how resources are utilized.
Exactly.
Could you speak to us briefly about the role that citizens can play in ensuring that we do not quite slide back to where we were?
Okay, so it's a very wide question that you've asked me. So you've mentioned one, accountability is very, very important. We should shift away from wastage. Every cent is going to count. Debt still has to be serviced, only that at the same time the economy also has to grow. A number of initiatives. We also need to work hard. We also need to target sectors and grow the economy. Look at it this way, a conducive environment has been created for the private sector to now thrive. So you have your public authorities creating that environment, and then the private sector also has to play a very, very key role. Like I did mention, there's a lot of certainty coming with this. You expect stability in your exchange rate. You expect lower interest rates, and those are very, very key ingredients to private sector growth. There is that recognition that it's the private sector that does drive growth, and above all, I think it's very important for the citizenry to rally behind the authorities and support this initiative, because we only have one country to grow, and that's Zambia.
We appreciate your thoughts with us this evening. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for hosting me.
Great. And that's Mutesunge Zulu, Chief Risk Officer from ZNBC.